We are live, so welcome to this Facebook group, Highly Sensitive People. I'm joined here by Raminta. Raminta, that's right. Yeah, that's your name.
Yes, yes, I meant that.
Yeah. Wonderful. So we're here to talk about this morning. We're going to talk about love, unconditional love, how some of this world has conditioned us to look at that in a very strange way, which is really what my take is, because I didn't really understand what unconditional love was when I first heard the
Mhm.
expression. I think, what, love everything? Is that the word pacifist, i.e., be peaceful with everything? Because that's not how the natural world works. There's no such thing as being completely peaceful from everything, because inside of your body, there's thousands of little things happening that are pretty pretty aggressive. And the same thing
Yeah.
with our world today. If you look at our world today, there's some things that are really happening that are really, really bad. I mean, someone would say evil, sort of back to front from living or live is evil. So spell it backwards. So unconditional love for me was really breaking down the barriers of how I was triggered by seeing and certain
Mm,
events, and then understanding what that person or human being or even animal was going through to behave like that in that
yeah.
respect. And then when you realize you have maybe some compassion or empathy towards it, never condoning what they do, never ever condoning what they
Yeah.
do, especially murder, suicide, child rape, all this kind of stuff, never condoning it, but understanding what kind of consciousness they must have been in to actually start to
Mm,
do things like that. And that, when you're starting to open your mind to that possibility, then you're starting to move more towards unconditional love, because you're starting to see they're going through a process, shouldn't be forgiven for what they've done,
mm,
should really pay for what they've done in one way or another, i.e., a karmic debt that they've created. But seeing it and going, okay, rather, whereas before I used to get really angry and go,
Oh,
get
yeah.
the pitchforks out and you start running in.
Mm.
So I suppose that must be the English blood in me, but it was quite a journey to get through to this position. What about you, Amenta? What do you feel about unconditional love?
Yeah, first I want to resonate with you, and it's from what I'm hearing from you, it's about accepting not only your own, perception, your own point of view, but expanding it and trying to see it from other people's perspective, because each of person, feels like they're doing their best probably. And one of my teachers once told, and this is the phrase that I carry all the time, and it really, really helps me, is that every person uh, acts the best way they can at that moment, at that very specific moment, with the resources they have, with the knowledge they have, with the traits they have. And it's mostly not their fault, that they are acting like this. And this really released me from trying to judge, everyone. Of course, it's not easy. It's not easy because, I feel right, with my reality, my point of view, and my perceptions. But that person also feels right. So who are we to judge? And talking about, unconditional love, for me, it's very strange to hear when people say, oh, we are fighting for peace. You cannot fight for peace because you are not in peace already. So for me, this unconditional love, yeah, for a long time it sounded, like some fluffy stuff. But for me now, it's about um, how to love, how to stay in the state of love and light when, for example, someone hurt you, really hurt you, and you in your reality you perceive it. Uh, Someone did something wrong to you, okay, and you don't want to justify them, but how to. I mean, because it's very easy to get into this lower vibrations, into hatred, and because you really feel hurt. And just loving space. For me, it's still a journey. I'm not completely 100% there, And you know, it doesn't mean that I'm neglecting my feelings. Yes, I feel hurt. I feel angry. At this moment, maybe I really would love to shake this person, you know, and say many bad words, but still, I love him or her or them, you know, and I still support them. I still can see the light in them. I still can see the good qualities. And yeah, and I feel heard. This is my reality. But maybe they also have their own, you know, point of view, and they did whatever they could best. So for me, I with this all, you know, what's happening in the world, for me, it's easier. It's easier because, you know, you can more easily detach if it's not related to your daily life, to your daily reality. But with your daily people, or the people around you in your, I don't know, profession, or your family or your friends, it's more easy because it, you know, it straight away relates to you, and it's really not easy to love unconditionally. Yeah, what about you, Peter? Is it what about your journey with your unconditional love for people around you?
It's very
Can
difficult.
you relate to that?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
It becomes more difficult when it becomes more personal and it's more closer to home, and you start to
Yeah.
feel it more personally. But yes, you're so right, because people think, oh, it's about detaching from emotions, detaching from feelings, detaching from who you are, because there's something really important about you as a human being, which to me in our qigong practice we call it the solar plexus chakra, which is all about your sense of identity and your sense of self. It's important to have a sense of self, because what we're talking about here is like inside of us there's a tiny thing that's so small that we don't even realize what it is, and it's called a soul.
Mm.
But in the Vedic perspective,
Wow.
they also call it, we have something else inside of us which is called the super soul, which is the connection to God, or the creator source. So this conditioned soul that's been going through different incarnations has been trying to get the perception of material life to grow on the immaterial side of things. So this is like the teaching process, and that process is about moving this conditioned soul more towards the super soul. So you're looking at the super
Mm.
soul, which will be graceful, looking at everything and going, "Oh my goodness, that is awful," but nothing is actually going to ever be permanently damaged by that. There's a process to
Mm.
this world. If you look how it all changes and moves, nothing is permanently damaged from that. So, but the pain right there and then is very real. We had a big thing with our cat getting sick and dying. We were going to Vedic reading sessions, and they were talking about the Hare Krishnas and how the gurus would say, um, we might be wrong even, but how the gurus would say, let that animal die naturally, just let it fade out and die.
Mm.
To me, where does human compassion kick in? I know we're going a little bit different, but this is still
Mm.
talking about love and how you
Mm.
actually kill. Are you going to kill something to compassionately to put it out
Mm.
of its life? And they said, no, you can't. You got to let it run its karma. But there was a point where this our poor little cat was, he couldn't even scratch his ears. He was just going to the toilet everywhere. He was a complete mess. He was walking down the garden to go and lie under a bush, and he
Mm.
was being literally mocked by the magpies that live in the garden, live around the garden. Whereas before he used to chase them off. He was like a very proud warrior. And at that point, I realized he's learned all his lessons on this life. It's time for him to say
Mm.
goodbye. And it was such a peaceful ceremony when we did put him down, end of his life. And he looked at me in his last moments, and I could tell he's going, "This is it, Peter, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, this is it." And then he came back that night before that night, his energy came back to me and said, "Thank you for that. That was the right thing to do. Don't ever feel guilty about what you've done." So, and that wasn't me thinking that, because I was in this thinking, did I do it? Was this too soon? Was this too late? What was it? All these little things that
Mm.
you go through. And was that the right thing for me to do? Because the last thing I want to do is hurt or harm anybody. And that came back and that rectifies itself. So to me, really, is when you see people doing these bad things to you, you really pray for them to get that consciousness to think, okay, I've done this to them.
Yeah.
What are they feeling right now? How are they feeling about this? And that about getting their empathy and compassion growing inside of them. So even the mass murderers and the people who go around who seem like they've got no human connection in there to the divine at all, is about getting them
Yeah.
to see, wow, do you actually see what you're doing? You're ending life. But what you were talking about earlier about the polarization and the condition that we are, we're so conditioned now to think black and white. This is right, this is wrong. If
Yeah.
you're wrong, I'm going to attack you. So that is coming up in the political world. It's becoming coming up in the spiritual world. It's coming up in all sorts of different places. So when I do posts on social media or anything like that, and someone responds like recently to a post I put up about the imprint on the hand, which is very, very personal to us because
Mm.
every palm is different. So why is that? That's a
Mhm.
big question. And I've been asking that all my life. Came across this amazing palmistry guy who's set up a institution in America, who actually was being taught by Prabhupada. Again, this goes back to the Hare Krishnas. And he was amazing in New York, teaching people or reading palms and telling people what their lives past were all about. So then I was listening to him talk, and then it suddenly dawned on me, yes, this is the imprint of our hands, and our hands are telling us what our life path could be. You can either
Mm.
overachieve on it, underachieve on it, or just go with it. So you have that choice. And the point is, with all of us, we have this freedom of choice. And it's when
Yeah.
that freedom of choice gets so polarized and so put into the false sense of self of I am powerful, when you're not actually using power, you're using force, which is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
When you use your power is everywhere, and you can use your power, soft power or really strong power. But force is trying to manipulate people in this material world with your force. Literally, you try and domineer over them.
Yeah.
So what we do, I think, when we look at people without unconditional love, we want to force them into doing something different rather than making them
Mm.
sort of see what they've done so they can find it within themselves. And so I know I've gone
Mm.
like a big circle there, big circle,
Mm. Yeah.
but that's the point of it is really is how do you get people to increase their consciousness to see this in a better way? And is it for everybody as well? And that's another big question. I think, is it for everybody, or are people here just to help other people
Mm.
go on a deeper spiritual journey, which will be unconditional love, which will make you
Mm.
look at this world and go, okay, if I was God and I created this and I gave freedom of choice, how do you stop? You can't, is it
Mm.
possible to stop freedom of choice? Do you think?
Mm.
No. I don't know.
No, freedom of choice. No, I think it's like, the basic law. But what I'm thinking, that most of our world and humanity is based on ego part, and this is how the thing you said, black and white, and judging other people, thinking, that I want to change other, I want to force to do something because not because I think I don't know, they are bad or something, but probably I think that my own perspective is better, my own view to reality is better. I know somehow better, but what does it mean better? Who am I to judge? Who am I to say that this is better? Am I God? No. No, I'm just a human being. And if we look from soul's perspective, everything is light, everything is love, and every soul comes here for its purpose, to serve their purpose. Maybe soul's purpose is to murder in order to get some experience, or And from soul's perspective, there's not such a thing of good or bad. And for us as human beings, for our minds, it's sometimes too hard to get that, too hard to get to this place. And for me, it took many years to get to this place, to try to, to explain all the things that are happening in my life, in others' lives, in the world. Not because, the first impulse is to correct the situation,
Mm,
to eliminate all the wars, to eliminate all the bad things that happening in the world. But it won't serve for good, because this is the reason, the higher reason, the deeper reason why it's happening. And I cannot interfere with that. Even if I see my friend going through really rough patches, and going through very difficult in my life, I cannot take his or her, sorrows, and to make his life feeling better, because then I take his karma, then I take his responsibility, then I take his lessons. um, no, he or she has to do that by himself, and it takes a lot of, inner strength and respect, just to watch, to support, to say that I'm here for you. If you need me, just tell me, but I'm not going to do that for you. This is your life, this is your lessons, this is
mm.
what you came here for. And for many people, they won't understand that, and it's also a part of their journey. They don't need to understand that. Not everyone, came here to be, gurus, or to live spiritually or whatsoever. And it's not for everyone. But if you're really going into this path of spiritual journey, awakening, or even personal development, if you want to live your life better, at some point you will, bump into this, that you have these thoughts, these questions, and just simply ask yourself, how can I choose love instead of fear? Because in every situation we can do that. We can react, we can think, we can say from the state of love or from the state of fear.
Mm.
And many things that are happening in the world, and many people are living their lives from the state of fear. And this is, I think, where we as teachers, as sensitive people, as the ones who really care, should do that, starting from ourselves, to start seeing everything from, not from the place of fear, but from the place of love. And this is where I think we can really make an impact in this world,
Oh
in our
yeah,
lifetime.
definitely. It's about the vibration that we put out into our field, personal field, which actually hooks into the field of the planet. And it is basically how this planet is run at the moment is fear. From every
Yeah.
institution, there's fear. I haven't got enough. I need to get big market share. I haven't got enough. I need more control as a government. I haven't got enough. I need more. I need a bigger house as a human being. I need a bigger car. I need to look better than my neighbors. Fear, 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 fear. And like fear stems all these negative attributes coming out of us, like we're not worthy, or not enough,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
feel inadequate, or feel like a sinner. Sinner means just miss in the true Christian religion. Sinner means miss the mark, i.e., you've been going along your journey and you just missed the mark a little bit, and you just need to
Mm.
come back onto it. That's what it really means.
Okay.
Whereas, like sin is think, oh my God, I'm a sinner. It's like no, it was never like this. This whole introduction of evil has been a human construct, like you were
Yeah,
saying earlier. And I
exactly.
think, to me, I find that fascinating, because I think, oh, well, no, of course, there must be the devil. What are you talking about? There must be the devil. Everybody talks about the devil. And
Someone to blame, someone to blame.
yes, 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 yes. There he is. That one in the red. And it's
It's not me, it's him.
yeah, exactly. And actually, you realize, oh, that's me. Oh my goodness. And that's what St. Francis of Assisi said was the dark night of the soul, wasn't it? Is you realizing, what have I done? Oh my goodness me, this is not good. Who am I? And you're right about accepting. That's very shamanic, when the shamanic principles of accepting the darker side, the shadow side, they call it the shadow side of themselves, and you place it back into, you never try and get rid of it. You place it back into a position where you go, okay, I forgive myself for using that shadow side, but I needed that shadow side for that particular time to protect myself. for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I need to protect myself, and I think that's fascinating because you realize then you incorporate the whole of yourself rather than trying to cut things off. So it's a bit like when somebody's trying to diet, you say, well, you can't have that. What's the first thing they're going to think? I want that. It's like, well, you can't have that
Mm.
cream cake. Oh, I want that. I want that. So it's a bit like saying, don't use that part of your personality. Oh, but I like that. And I think some of the times I've felt sadness with losing parts of my personality through this process of working on yourself and going through spirituality is
Mm.
actually losing that element of me. And I do get not overwhelmed with sadness, but I do get a deep sense of sadness thinking, oh, that part of my personality
Mm.
is no longer coming to the fore. But then
Mm.
3 or 4 days later, and when I start to interact with people, I go, wow, I've changed. This is good. I like this new person. Who's this new person here? This new being. And it's that
This is you. Whoa, yeah, this is just you.
exactly coming out from emerging from this sort of energetic mess that we can be in. And that's what I love about the coaching process that I do, and also the qigong I teach, is you see people emerging from the field that they're in, realizing there's a lot more to this than actually meets the eye. And I think that's what I call the veil. We're like behind a veil, and at this point in time, we're supposed to be. Some of us are supposed to be lifting the veil because we're moving into what the Vedic system calls the golden age. We're going. We're right at the bottom of our dark age, the Kali Yuga, and we're going into the Sattva Yuga. Very short, what they call a short golden age, was 10,000 years, which is short compared to the whole cycle.
Yeah.
But it's so we're blessed enough on this planet, and I think the reason why some souls choose to incarnate at this time is to go through this experience, because you know you're going to be seeing a really bad world out there, but you realize that your growth is going to be exponential. Because if you're sitting in the Sattva Yuga, where lots of people are yearning for peace and love and tranquility, and most human beings in this time now would find that extremely dull, because everything would be perfect. All you'd be doing is feeling bliss and joy all the time, which is kind of what you feel a little bit. Well, you feel that.
Overwhelming. Overwhelming. It would be overwhelming.
Yeah. What is this? So there's a process to this, and when you get to understand the process, you realize you have time. Everybody's got, I've got no time. I can't do this. I've got the time to do this. I haven't got time to do that. Blah, blah. You've got loads of time, but you just got to choose to use your time in the right way. Really important to get that as well. When you start to work on yourself and look at time in a real way, you're thinking, I need to take more time for self-love and self-care. And when you start to say that to yourself, I know you've done that as well, which is obviously, but when you do that to yourself, things change. Life slows down a little bit. It's not so crazy and manic, but you're still busy and doing things and on top of things. But it's your health and well-being becomes, with the physical body, becomes more important to you. So you start eat the right food, mix with the right people, have the right conversations. And so when was the beginnings of that for you, do you think? When was the beginnings of that for you, when you were starting to realize I need to, well, maybe you didn't go through this, but I think you did, when you realized you had to change the kind of relationships that you had with people?
Yeah, for me, when I struggling with the relationship with people, I always go back to myself. Why is that? What's because I think that relationship with other people is like with a mirror with what we have a relationship with ourselves, basically. And if I cannot accept my parent, for example, or my friend, and I'm really pissed by some things that they do, and I'm getting into conflicts or disappointment on some negative emotions, I started questioning myself. What's going on? Why does it bother me? It shouldn't. It's just that person's reaction, that person's action whatsoever. It shouldn't bother me. Why does it bother me? And what's about me? And most of the cases, I started noticing that, okay, I don't like it because I have it in my inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a mirror. And if that person is, I don't know, very stubborn, and I'm very, frustrated about that. Am I stubborn? Oh yeah, I am, but I don't want to see it. And this person is showing me straight away that this is who I am. And this
Mm.
is what you were talking about, this dark side of ourselves. And then I, started, okay, I have this. Okay, can I accept it? Can I see it? Can I hug that part of me? Can I look at it as I don't know, as a child, for example? We love children mostly unconditionally. Can I love this part of me as a child?
Mm.
And I think all this started for me when I really got into my self development journey. It started like 10 years ago. Before that, I didn't have any questions. I just always tried to please other people, be a good girl, and suppress all my emotions. So all the people were good to me, and I thought it, yeah. So for me, until I started going to my through my self development journey, I didn't I didn't experience any issues in relationship, but that's just not true. That's just not true. And only going into this journey, and it started happening after I got fired at my job. It was almost 10 years ago, and at that time I also had this thinking, oh, everyone is good, and for me, then I experienced, okay, I feel anger towards my boss. He fired me for basically no reason, just cutting budgets. And for
Ah.
me, it was, can I let myself feel that anger? And for some month, I couldn't. I pretended that everything is fine. I'm just, entering a new stage of life, and now it's time for my dreams. I got time, I got money now. I'm changing profession. I will help humanity, and started coaching and stuff like that. Um, and what happened? I started experiencing a lot of anxiety because all those feelings of disappointment, of anger, of
Yeah.
injustice were suppressed, and I didn't know they even existed. I didn't know what to do with them.
Mm.
And then I started, my journey. First, it's funny because I joined coaching school in order to help others to find my new profession, and only then I realized, oh my God, I need help myself. This is
Yes.
how it started. Both, I started going into my journey and going to help other people, and on the way, this is how it happens. We work with ourselves, and on our way we help others. So for me, it was yeah, it was some years ago, but only recently, like few years, it's I really can see these patterns, as I told, in relationship as mirroring. Before
Mm.
that, I had to, to deal with all the trauma and to go into these emotions, because like mirroring part, to see in others how they're mirroring you, what traits they have that you have, or to see that person's perspective as equal, as a good one. I think it's like the next level, the second level. First of all, you have to, release all the traumas you have, all the sadness, all the hurts, because we have right to feel these feelings, and we have to let them go. We have to, write angry letters to some people, not to send them, to throw that away, but just to let everything go. And only after this stage, after this, bringing everything from our wardrobe and seeing what that is, only after that we can go to that next stage and really explore relationships for what they really are. So
Mm.
for me, it took time. And what about you, Peter?
It takes time.
What about
It
you?
really takes time. My awakening to all of this really was when I was a baby, a really young child, and I suddenly realized people didn't have memory. People don't have memory. You can have a conversation with somebody and you think you've established something, and then you come back a week later and you suddenly realize that they've completely forgotten the conversation that you've had, which was really meaningful to you.
Mm.
And that hurt. I was, whoa. And my mother saw this with my brothers, and she kind of almost protected me, but she died when I was 11. And I was sent off to boarding school, which had paedophiles with it. So I was out there, and I had to grow up really quickly, because my father became disabled as well when I was 10. So I had to grow up really quickly and become very defensive. So I built this brick wall. People said it was like a stone-clad wall around me to protect myself and push people away. And I had relationships with people who were off the rails. They were questioning of society, and they were interesting people because I could have conversations with them and they would understand what I was talking about, whereas everybody else had no idea what I was talking about. So this is all wrong. You're all interacting with each other badly. This is all, corrupted, I would say. I didn't know the word corruption at that point, the 12, 13-year-old boy, but it said this is wrong. So I had these interactions with these kids who I grew up with. And funny enough, most of them have died through violent deaths because they carried on being off the rails. And that to me made me realize at about 17, 18, I need to come away from like that, because I wasn't bad to anybody outside of like the gang sort of thing. I wasn't in a gang or anything, but I wasn't bad to anybody. But anybody did come into my jurisdiction, I was really vicious with it. You cannot take this away from me. So I was really protective of it. And so it's been going on all my life. And I've been trying to work out what this is all about, because I had an out-of-body experience when I was a musician, professional musician, playing with Thin Lizzy. I came out of my body and I came back and I was completely changed. And the people around me at that point said, well, Peter, I can't deal with you at the moment. You sound like a space cadet. Every time you speak, you sound like a space cadet. Because I felt like from that young boy who was with his mother and being protected by his mother from his brothers, I'd suddenly realized what I was talking about, so I could actually start to express, yeah, there's more to this. There's much more to this. And it's like almost like preaching. I get the book out and start shaking the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then music was great because it was a vocation for me. I was just doing it all the time, 24/7. People say, well, you love music, don't you? I said, and I realized that this was like a traumatic response for me because it kept me engaged with music all the time. And I had really very little time for relationships out of the bands and the producers and the managers that I knew. So I was going. And then that all stopped. And then when I had to start to think about doing something else, that's when I found the Qigong that I teach now, the Korean Qigong. And they took me in and said, wow, you're so bright and intelligent. And I thought, well, I don't know. And they thought, they said, well, you're enlightened already. You're enlightened, but you need to hone your vision on this. So I went through this. And what was interesting, what sparked into my mind when you were talking about dealing with people who are difficult, when we're taught as instructors to run a class, we always go to the ones that we don't like, or you feel like you don't like straight away, because there's something there for you to learn, which is this mirror principle that you were talking about, which when you go deeper into that mirror principle, the whole thing, this whole reality is a mirror principle. But we were taught that, to go to these people who, and I do that. And it's hard. It really is hard, but you're thinking, oh, that was, oh, you can't say that.
Why should I do this? Why should I do this? Yeah. Resistance.
Yeah. And then you let that go. And it's weird because when I did let it go, some of those people became really close to me. Others drifted off. But there was never any resistance inside of me ever again towards them. It all gone. And now that's becoming easier to see and easier to turn around in a very quick manner. Whereas before it would take me years, months, days. Now it's like, okay, what don't I like about this? Okay, give it love, shine some love on it, shine some light on it. What's inside of me thinking this? Ego, yeah, ego. Or, oh, didn't see that. That I was in, say, for instance, East Molesey, and I was stuck in a bed sit having a really horrible time. That memory's popped back into my head. This person is reminding me of that. Release that memory, forgive them, and that all of it comes back into harmony. It's amazing how it works when you get a little bit deeper, more on the energy side of how this all works inside of us. It's incredible. So yeah, it was a very young and early age for me when I first started to realize about unconditional love and thinking about how this life actually works and how it's a cycle, but it's a never-ending cycle that we just keep learning and learning. And I am of the thought of, as you refine yourself, you move up like a spiritual plane. William Buhlman's done some brilliant work on outer body research on that, and he's been doing out of body experiences. Now he virtually does it every day, he says, because he learned so well how to do it. And he's got to such a level, he's met energetic entities up at these levels and go, what are you doing here? But not in a judgmental way, but we don't usually see
Yes.
people like you here. We don't see beings like you. How come you made it up here? And they're like in reverence to them, because thinking, wow, you done so much work on yourself. So yeah, it is about that. But you do have a choice, don't you? You have a choice
Yeah.
how deep you want to go with it. Because I've had friends who've gone so deep into it, like the the sort of the president of the Hare Krishna temple in Soho. He's so deep into it that that's his life. That's his devotional service. He just sits there chanting Hare Krishna every day, and he's devoting his life to God. Another Master Kim I trained with, he is wonderful human being, devoting his life to Sundo, which is a ancient Korean form of Qigong. You meet these different people and you go, there's different levels to them and different feelings inside of them. But overall, when you meet them, you realize I'm the same as you. Wow. This is beautiful to have a conversation with you. And that's what I love about this waking up period that we're all going through, is that when we start to find these commonalities within us, we love each other naturally. We look out for each other naturally. And if somebody's hurting, you're so right. You don't go and try and clean up the mess. You just say, well, have you seen it this way or that way? Bit of coaching, bit of few loving words, and just say, I'm here if you need me at the end of a phone, but you've got to do this. You've got to sort this out. I think that's important as well, that calming aspect of how we live, because I was stuck in the, do you understand the concept of the Redeemer complex? You will when I explain it, if you don't get that saying, is we've been conditioned to feel that there's this knight in shining armor coming along to pick us up and rescue us from this horrible
Oh yeah, savers, yeah. Oh, it's such a nice fantasy, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen, right?
No, so
No,
sorry to say that.
it's not going to happen. So yeah, so there's a brilliant book called Not in His Image by John Lamb Lash about the Gnostics who were teaching that, saying the Christos, the Christ inside of you, the Christ spark, which is where Jesus Christ came from, is you. It's your divine spark.
Yeah.
It's not somebody coming in to redeem you, to save you. You're saving yourself. And that's what they were saying. When you connect with your Christ spark, Christos, because that's why he was called Jesus Christ. But actually, he was predicted in the Vedas, the Vedic scripts, when he came to earth as, I think it was Yeshua Meshuaya. Excuse my Sanskrit is pretty awful, but which means Jesus Messiah. It means he's a Messiah. He's a teacher, a preacher. He's going to come along and be like the Buddha or all these other great prophets that they said they were going to come along and teach you. And to me, Jesus was the epitome of love, because you had the Vedic empire, as it were, that spread across the world, which was very male. If you look at the buildings and architecture, very square, very strong, very square gardens, a bit like the English garden, very square, not very rounded, so very male energy orientated. And then when the Buddha went down to, and the Vedas went down to Southeast Asia, they created the Tao philosophy, which was very swirly, very feminine, very healing, very understanding of the energies, of the healing energies of art, which is why I love Qigong so much, because I trained in the martial arts, which was came from India, actually, the Kung Fu, and that was the Vedic martial arts came down to Southeast Asia and they turned it into Kung Fu. But Jesus came along and united the two, the male and the female. So he was the love in the middle. And that's how the timelines went from India to Southeast Asia back into the Middle East. So if you think about it, it's gone left, right, and then back in the middle. So left brain, all works, male brain, right, female brain, back in the middle, which is where we should be, in the pineal gland. So if you think about it, that's where we're at now. We've got all these great philosophies around us, and it's okay to go into each one and learn from each one and learn from each other. But this is how this whole thing has been put together. And I'm in awe of it when you start to understand the knowledge that we have inside of us, and you just get little openings of the doors of like, oh,
this is just incredible. Yeah, this is just incredible. Yeah. And you reminded me the very, very simple rule, and I recently I'm exploring that in my life, that in relationships, we were talking about relationships, before. We usually think that the other person should change, that the other person is doing something wrong, and if he or she changed his or her behavior, then our relationship would be really, really good, or we should fix the relationship. Another thought, but the reality is, if we really look at this as energy, and our energy, other person's energy, and the dynamics between those energies, if we just focus on our energy and how we perceive the world, how we perceive our reality, how we perceive the other person, whether we can look at his or her, with the light, with love, maybe we can make these. If we can make these decisions, then we change our energy, and the other person doesn't change, but naturally he or she adopts, and our dynamic changes. And this is why it says, like, it's sometimes it's enough to work only with yourself, and the other, your relationship will change. The other person will change naturally, because he or she will align to your energy. And this is incredible, because then we feel like we have our inner power to change the reality we live in, to change the relationship, and we don't have to blame anymore someone else that he or she treats me wrong. Why does it happen? Maybe because they are just reflecting our limiting beliefs, that, for example, we are not feeling worthy of love and good treatment. That's why they are acting this way. But if we can feel that we are worthy, we deserve to all the best in the world, then the rest of the world just reflects that and gives us that. So for me, this is incredible, that actually, from one point of view, we cannot control anything, and we have to surrender, and that's right. But at the same time, we can do so much with our inner power, with our intentions. And if we really can align to this unconditional love, how hard it is. It's really hard, especially sometimes it's really, really hard. And this morning, even before joining to talk to you, I thought, oh my God, I'm not in a very mood, I didn't know. Basically, I didn't know the topic, but before that, I didn't feel like, in unconditional love. But I have my rituals. I go, to for a walk. I wrote my diary, and I thought, and I was thinking and talking with myself, okay, why can't I be in this unconditional love state, in this gratitude, in this positivity? And then I just said, okay, let it be for this, I don't know, half an hour, let this feeling go. And what happened just before I turned on my computer, I'm already in a good state, you know, and this is a
Mm,
part of the journey. We cannot be all the time loving unconditionally. And it's yeah, we're gonna get to this perfect place that doesn't exist. And just for me, yeah, going to that unconditional love description, for me, it's accepting uh accepting only when you don't like, yeah, and especially accepting ourselves, because I think it's the hardest thing to do, actually, to accept ourselves when we are sad, to
mm,
accept ourselves. And especially if we are in this awakening journey, we want to be better in a way. We want to create a better life for ourselves, for others. And we are if we are in this disappointment state, if we don't believe in anything anymore, if we feel hopeless, it's, you know, it puts even more pressure to us, because, oh, I cannot deal with that, so how can I be that person going on this journey, or how can I help others? So
yeah.
there's a lot of, you know, pressure and judgment, and to let that go and say, okay, I'm a human being. I can love myself with all of that. I can embrace
Mm,
that and just carry on with my day. And most likely it just will fade away, all this stuff, and we will get to that unconditional love state again. And more we
yeah.
do, more we get used to that. And I think it's just a matter of time when that becomes like your lifestyle, your part of your, I know, your maybe your constant state. But it doesn't mean, again, that we won't feel all these disappointment, sadness, and stuff like that. I think it's the thing that you should not do. It's a good way to learn not to attach to that. Just to remember that if you feel sadness, you are not sadness. If you feel these bad thoughts, you are not the bad guy. You
Mm.
know, it's just a part of the process of our, you know, psyche. And that's it. That's it.
Understanding that it's cycles, and these cycles are not you. You're not the cycle. You're the constant actually watching the cycle. You're watching these
Yeah.
cycles go through you, your emotional cycle. You watch it go through you, watch your emotions go through you. And it is about being human as well. You need to have the sensual
Yeah.
connection of being a human. Oh God, this hurts today. I don't like this. Why is this hurting me so much? And that feeling as well of being um emotional. It's okay to be
Mm.
emotional, be upset, sad, or joyful, or happy, as long as you're not
It's
pushing
being
up.
live. It's being
Yeah,
live.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to feel and process all these feelings. And if you need to, yeah, cry, or you need to laugh hard, or you need to, whatever you need to do. This is a physical body that we're looking after. It's a bit like your car. If you have a car and the car needs water, you think, well, I won't give it water today because I think it might drown. You over caring of it, and then you drive it up the road and your engine collapses because it's got no water in it. Is Everything needs to be maintained. I think maintenance is a good way of looking at the body. If you maintain it well, it will maintain you well.
Mm.
So that's why the mind body connection is so important, I think, for everybody to realize. Stop putting bad food into your face. Stop putting bad information into your eyes. Stop
Yeah.
putting bad information into your ears. It's okay to listen to the corruption of the world, because that teaches you, I don't want to be like that. I don't want part of that. That's good. That's a good thing. But to get involved with it and jumping in to try and forcefully change it, it will change when it's ready to change. These big um, changes in humanity haven't come really from one person standing up. We've had a few things like India with Gandhi, but it wasn't Gandhi. He was the forefront of the energy of, we're not putting up with this anymore, that changed it. So if somebody tried to do that in India now, or I think it was, I think, what's his name? Khan tried to do it in Pakistan, tried to stop the corruption. Now he's in jail. So he didn't have the energy
Mm.
behind him. So he had the same sentiment, the same rightful
Yeah.
energy that was pushing this, pushing him forward. So when it's ready, I feel that this evolution that we're going through won't be televised, but what it will be a change of mindset by a few million human beings on the planet to say, okay, we've had enough of this. And you'll just watch it amazingly fall apart and then come back together very quickly in a better way. That's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that now.
Yeah.
I'm watching this now, seeing many different amazing things happening across our world that aren't actually televised or shown. But human beings now, like in this country, England, for instance, going out and looking after the woods, creating more space for wildlife,
Wow.
making more organic food, making organic food priority, trying to localize their systems, trying to reach out to their community. And it's happening here in Kingston called Save the World Club, I think it is. And they're
Oh, wow.
getting all the food together, and they're getting all the old clothes and everything that's been thrown away. And they're just handing it out to people who can't afford it. And this movement is growing. And these things are happening on the ground outside of the jurisdiction of politics and law and all this kind of stuff, where people are starting to interact with each other. We need to be doing that and start to trust each other again. But I can understand the lack of trust because of what has been going on. And there's a lot of people who are kind of what I would call feral human beings, really cut off from their spirituality. And that's okay. But you just got to be careful with people like that around you. You don't have to give anything away to anybody. You can just be with them and then interact with them and then cooperate with them, and then collaborate with them, and then take it further. So it's like any relationship. You take time to get to know any relationship before you go, right, I'm 100% in that. This is good. I know Peter's not going to do anything bad to me. I can trust him. Let's see what we're going to do with this. And that's how I work now, because I used to be, yeah, everybody come in, and you think, oh, that hurt. Oh, that hurt. So it's about us doing the work inside of ourselves and making ourselves feel happy with who we are. Anyway, we've come to about an hour now. I mean, it's been another fascinating conversation with you. We're going to do it again
Oh,
next month if
thank
you're
you. Yeah.
free. If you're free. So if people want to get hold of you, how do they get hold of you? If they want to go with your coaching or?
Just find me on social media and contact me. That's the best way. The
Okay.
best way to reach me out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do this again next month. And if and when it gets bigger and better, and we see where we go. Sound
Okay,
good?
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was
Okay.
amazing. I enjoyed so much
Me too. We'll
this
see you
conversation. Yeah.
next month. See you
Yeah,
next
yeah.
month.
See ya.